The woman is symbolic in a way. We are told that her father died during the genocide, and now her mother and her brother are locked up in prison. She's not a citizen. She's not from Rwanda. She's not from Rwanda. She's brought there to work. She brought her parents and her family. So the father is gone through the genocide. The mother and the brother are in prison. They're locked up in prison. For what crime? No one knows. Her two sisters are in another part of the country. So she left the country at the beginning of the war and returned when it was all over. When it was all over. Good. So she recounts the story to us. We also have another foreigner, the project manager, who left his country when the war broke out. And after the agriculture project had collapsed, he left his country the moment the war broke out, when the project for which he came also collapsed. Now, we said that he is now back to the country to trace those workers who survived and to restore the project. So this is a character of reconciliation, a character of reparation. So he's come to repair the damage, put things right. Having assisted his Rwandan colleagues who were pleading to be taken along with him. When he was going, some of them were pleading, we have nowhere to go, can you take us away? But the man did not. So we're talking of both immediate consequences of the war, psychological trauma, because yes, if you were not killed, or if you didn't kill, but you also had the opportunity to help somebody, and you didn't help the person, you are as guilty as the one who killed. You are as guilty as the one who killed. In Methodist Church, there's this confession we make. We say that for the good I didn't do, the good I didn't do, the bad that I should have avoided, but I did, they're the same. So the evil that you have to run away from, but you fell in, it is the same as the good you should have done, but you didn't do. They were the same magnitude. So this gentleman comes back to not just to apologize, but then he shows that remorse. He regrets for failing to assist those that he could have assisted. Now, the project man remains unnamed. I will only know him by the title of his position as a project manager. One, I have mentioned that the writer, though tries to give us a historical narration, she also attempts to fictionalize some characters by keeping them anonymous. So that's one of them. Now, through his revelation, we understand he is not a Rwandan citizen. He has realized that he must correct his mistakes. So he comes back to correct his mistakes. Correcting the mistake is the bigger dream of the book. So he is symbolic of those who attempt to correct the mistakes. The consular woman is symbolic of those who had to leave the place and then come back. She's also symbolic of that. So the attempt to reconcile, the attempt to repair, we see in these two strange or foreigners. The man with the mask also comes in. The mask here represents concealment, represents concealing one's identity, and so on. And we are told that he works in the prison. He works in the prison, and he's tasked to reform the prisoners. So he tries to find ways of improving the prisoners' life if they ever get out of their enclosure. I saw something on the social media, I think 2 days ago, on the Ghanaian prisons, where a lot of women were going through the sewing business. So they have this industrial machine that they're trained on how to sew and all those things. And I guess that's a very good thing that is done in our prisons. I'm also aware that in some prisons, even the code education goes there, distance education goes there. So they do the BC there, they write the SSC, and the code continues with them. So this man with the mask is the one in charge of those in Rwanda. So that is preparing them to come out and continue their lives. Right. Now, when they do that, when they get this opportunity to train, it does two things. It equips them with job opportunities. It also takes care of the opportunities that they might have missed, they might have lost. So yes, if they were back home, they would have done A, B, C, D. Now that they are in prison, the anger is too huge. But then if they're able to go through these, then it all becomes a process of reconciliation and a process of forgiving. Right. So the man with the mask, his identity is also concealed through the mask. So don't see him. We don't really encounter him as he is of his mask, and the man with the mask. So he's also part of those who are trying to make efforts to reconcile and put things right in the genocide. Right. Could you hand us up? Can we hear you?
Yeah, Prof. I wanted to add about the prison. The prison, there's also one prison who organized a fashion show after sewing these designer wears. They also organize fashion shows for them, but sometimes they hide their faces. They wear masks when they are exhibiting the fashion.
Which prison are you talking about? Ghana prison or Rwanda?
Yes, it's a Ghanaian prison. It's in Kumasi.
All right. All right. All right. That's fine. Thank you for that addition. Letitia, can we hear you? Letitia. All right. So if in future you are asked to discuss efforts made by both victims and non-victims of the war to reconcile Rwanda and to make peace with each other. These are some of the things that we can mention. Those who returned, those who reformed, those who came back to show regrets, and all that. So we have a lot to say on that. Then we come to the journalists. In fact, the war in Rwanda was instigated and really brought into being by the journalists of Rwanda. So one of the themes that we'll talk about is the negative effect of the media, the negative manipulations of the media. So in Ghana, whenever we go to have elections, the media is warned on how they report their issues. In Rwanda, the media played that crucial role for the outbreak of the war. A media station, we are told, referred to one of the groups as cockroaches. And yes, maybe in Ghana, if you call someone a cockroach, the person may not take so much offense. But the cultural interpretations of cockroaches and so on, in some places, are so huge. And that brought about the war in Rwanda. So the journalist reports what happened in the country before the assassination of the president, and what happened in the country afterwards. Now, this journalist links the war to France and Belgium, who supported the genocidal regime to the end, right? Supported France and Belgium, who supported genocidal regime to the end. And he represents the group of journalists who were following and reporting the genocide in Rwanda. Now, those journalists will not be part of Veronica Tajo's group. No, he was there when the war was going on and was reporting. That's the journalist. I would call them war front journalists. So they will be with them. They wear all those things that they have to wear, and they have their identities. So yes, though people will be killed here and there, no one would dare kill them because they have that protection. Good. So he reported it before the assassination of the president and what happened in the country after that. And then he is also able to let us know. He's also able to let us know that the war is between France and Belgium, and that France supported a part, Belgium supported a part, and then it went on and on to the end, right? So he will also tell us, he will also play that significant of providing information. He also played that significant role of providing information. So if for anything, the one thing that we can get from multi-perspectival narrative approach is that if information is coming from various angles, we stand the opportunity of getting a heavy dossier of information, and there was some opportunity of knowing what to do with such information, right? So multi-perspectival approach enables us to be really informed on issues we're dealing with. The next person we'll talk about is Nelly. So we started with those in some crucial jobs. Now we're moving into some victims. So the first one is Nelly. She's a victim. She has a daughter and 2 grandchildren. She loves one, but hates the other because he was born out of rape, right? Nelly has contracted a disease from the war and is preparing to die. This is the woman who was raped by a soldier, and the soldier told her that I have HIV/AIDS. I want to rape you and give you HIV/AIDS, simply because there's war, right? So the effect of war on the woman. Now, that is not as serious as a woman hating her own child. A woman hating her own child. Women, can you please, our ladies, can you please share something on this with us? How easy is it to hate your own child because of how he or she came into your womb? Can you please share with us? Hello? Yeah, Hetty, let's hear you.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, dear.
Please, I think the reason why the woman hated the child is anytime she sees the girl, it reminds her of the incident that happened. That is why she chooses to hate her.
I see.
Thank you.
Are you a mother yourself?
Yes, please.
Is it easy to hate your child?
I've not witnessed that, so that one day I can't tell. But through movies that we have been watching, that is what I can tell for now.
Oh, I asked the women to talk because I think they can put themselves in the situation and then share something with us. We were learning. Diana, let's hear you.
Yes, good morning, sir.
Morning.
It does happen. Sometimes it depends on the intensity of the offense, like rape, and sometimes too, some of our children do things to affect us. I know of a child who helped the father to divorce the mother. So for this child, definitely the mother will hate her. And then sometimes too, when during birth, sometimes you want a girl, or sometimes you want a boy, and then you will be giving birth to, let's say, all males. For me, I have an experience. I had two girls, and for the third one, I was considering a boy. No, I had boys, so I was considering a girl. So I bought things for girls, beautiful. And then the time came and he was a boy, not a girl. So I was very annoyed at the beginning. So even I used those clothes for girls for him from the beginning until a time that I got over it. So it can happen. It does happen.
Can we,
Thank you.
you are married, you have a child, and then somebody rapes you and you get a child. Will you hate that child?
Yes, it can happen. It may. I may hate the child because of how I got him or her,
I see.
the situation. Yes.
Please, the woman, can we hear you? Yeah, let's hear you. Jessica.
Please, for me, I will not hate the child. It's not easy to hate your own child. It's always an anger in you that that seems like you hate the child, but deep inside your heart, you don't hate the child as that. Thank you,
I
sir.
I see. Vida.
Thank you, Prof. On my side of view, a mother cannot hate a child that much, no
No,
matter the degree of the offense.
the
You
Bible
will
says,
be angry. You
Vida,
would be
listen.
angry with the, yes,
The Bible says in Psalm 27, is that right? Verse 10.
yes.
That a mother can hate a child, can forget a child.
Mm-hmm.
So to say the mother will never hate a child, it's not right. You
Yeah.
can reflect the
You from your heart to hate the child outrightly. To me, you will
Yes.
be angry with the offense the child
Bible.
committed, but to the core, to me,
Hmm.
I don't actually agree totally to that.
All right. So let's be listening to Martha, Florence, and then Adam, and then we are done. Yes, Martha.
Thank you, sir. Please, some do,
Mm,
because I have a certain woman in my area here. She
mm.
hates her own child just because she was not ready for that particular pregnancy. And
I,
because of that, she has decided to apportion the blame on the child. So
I
it
see.
happens.
Hmm.
I see. Yeah,
Hmm.
Florence.
Sir, thank you. Please, at times it's because of how the pregnancy came about, especially
All right.
when the man betrays you. A man can betray you to the extent that the pain the man inflicted on you will be transferred to the child you got from that man.
I see.
At times it becomes something psychological. It's not, you might hate your child. At times, there are children and certain things they will do. A child you loved once can become your enemy at a point in time because of maybe the act or the behavior, especially if the child start depicting the man's behavior, then it becomes worse. You can have a child maybe you don't even want it. The man has even left, and then you realize that this same child is depicting the father's behavior. You can run mad and then begin to hurt that child. It's possible. It does happen.
Adam, let's hear you.
Prof, thank you. There's a possibility and it's possible because, as you can see, when I'm happily married and my husband is doing everything for me, but out of any wedlock or how it happened, I just got raped by somebody and I got pregnant. And that pregnancy coming to ruin my happiness in my home, whilst my husband was aware that it was out of rape or somebody that caused that. That particular child is coming to ruin my entire life. So if I keep that child, I'll always be referring to that child to the source of my unhappiness or my broken marriage. So that is possible that a woman can hate a child. It's possible. Thank you.
All right. So thank you. So you have all shared your views on Nelly's position. Personally, I found it difficult to hear, to see that a mother hates her own child. It's very difficult for me to understand because I know mothers go through so much pain, so much intends to have a child. So no matter what, how you keep it. But then the of those child is that this child represents Florence, please mute yourself. This child represents the future. And the mother would not care about the future, but want to care about how the child came into being and hate this child, include the child's future. Right. This is an effect, this is a serious thing that the war brings, the war brought to Rwanda. So yesterday I told you why I selected this book for us to study. I think no one here listening to me, the pastors will say under the sound of my voice, should ever think of instigating anything of this sort. War, either tribal war or community war or a neighborhood war. No, the effect is so disastrous. The effect is so disastrous, right? That it will get a mother to hate her own child, that one who can look at somebody's face and give the person a disease, and that the person knows that I'm dying and preparing to die. That's too much off. So the consequences of the war, these are some of the things that we can highlight as we discuss them. By the way, hand is up. Any question? All right, she's gone. Let's continue.
No, please. No, please.
So we have a second one at the soothsayer. For this, I'm mentioning him time and time again, that he's very relevant in this context because he comes in to appease the dead. That should tell you that the war in Rwanda did not affect just the living, the dead was also affected. Take note that African society is made up of 3 pillars. And the pillars are the dead, the living, and the unborn. The dead, the living, and the unborn. And if you go through the book, you realize that the story, the war affected every fiber of the society. The war affected every fiber. I use fiber because fiber is that tiny strands of the sponge or whatever, very tiny. So put a lot together to get what you want. So every fiber of the society, every bit of the society is affected by this war. So the word is called genocide. Genocide. Different from massacre. What is the difference between massacre and the genocide? Yes, Anita.
Please, I think massacre is just killing, but genocide is killing or wiping away of a whole tribe,
Mm,
a whole race of people.
mm,
Thank you.
mm. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, any other? All right. So just as she said, massacre is just the method of killing. So maybe you line them up and you witch them. Yeah, Matthew.
Yes, sir. Please, I wanted to say that massacre is maybe the killing of usually someone who is helpless. The person cannot help themselves. But genocide, as the earlier person said, killing of a whole race of people.
Right.
Thank you, sir.
So that tells you that this killing of the whole race is not just the living, but it even goes to the core of those who are dead, goes to the core of those yet unborn. I mean, if you kill the living, the living become the dead, right? And what kind of death are they going to report? Don't forget that in our society, we have types of deaths that will never make you a hero, will never make you an ancestor. Kofi, please mute yourself. If you die naturally through illness or something, that is fine. But if you die through accident, if you die through suicide, if you die through murder, if you die through those things, you can never be an ancestor. You can never be an ancestor. And so even believe that when say a person dies, they're coming back for that person with suspicion, right? They come and you can clearly see signs of they having come and gone back. And in most cases, the belief is that they come back to avenge. They come back to avenge their death. So if we are in a society like this, where the living are killed, they go back as ancestors that are not welcome, and they are forced to come back just to avenge, then realize that this kind of war and this kind of anger, this kind of vengeance, this kind of atrocities will continue to recur and occur and occur. So the soothsayer comes in to make not just physical reconciliation, not just physical appeasement, but to affect the spiritual life of the people. So his place is very significant in this book. He's very significant in this book. He tries to fortify the living against the wrath of the dead. If a roaming spirit is very angry, the living don't see those spirits. So if it's angry, it meets you and does something bad to you, nobody sees it. You'll be suffering, or you also pass on, and they also come back and continue. Right? There's this movie we used to watch when we were young. I don't know if you still watch it. That's somebody gets infected or something, and is bitten. When he bites you or she bites you, you also be like him, a carnivore, right? And they also go about biting people, and they become just like you, just like the situation. Yeah, what's the title of that movie? The one giving us the vampire. Thank you, vampire. For this, I get it, but not those unnecessary chatting on the platform. Yeah, vampire. Yeah, that's the
And
effect you are.
zombies.
Pardon?
And zombies.
Fine. Thank you. Yeah, that's the effect we are seeing with Rwanda. So when the dead is not well treated, but then comes back to appease, then that's a problem. So the soothsayer tries to stand in, one, to fortify the living against the dead, and also to invoke the spirit of the dead, and then appease them. To appease means to plead with them and to make them or give them some offerings to satisfy them so that they go and then they don't come back. That is one way of the justice system in the book. One of justice systems in the book. Right. Can I go on? Can
Yes,
I go
sir.
on? Thank you.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Yes, sir.
Another victim we see in the book is Isaru, who has lost her husband, um, Romain, after a genocide. Kate.
Hello, Prof. Thank you so much. I wanted to hear more about the soothsayer. The line cut off at my end, please.
You want to hear more? All that there is to say about him, what I've said. So maybe you can go into the book, read that short story, and then we'll see. But I try to link it to the African belief system that for Africans, if you die naturally, you become an ancestor. So our children can be named after you. When libation is performed, you will be called. But if you die unnaturally, you can be an ancestor. Children will not be named after you. Libation will not mention you and all those things. And therefore, it is very painful for an African to die this way. So when an African dies this way, he or she would never rest, want to come back and avenge his or her death on whoever killed the person. And if this happens, that means that the living, the dead, and the unborn, they are all affected in the system. Any system that unleashes this kind of pain. And I was making reference to the movie I watched, and somebody gave me the title as Vampire, and somebody called Zombies. So a zombie bites you, and you become a vampire. And you also go out there as a zombie and bites and become a vampire. And therefore, the society becomes vampires and then zombies. So if an ancestor, if a dead person is not happy, it goes about causing mayhem. Causing mayhem. Yes. And that is the issue we have talked about, that the soothsayer comes in strongly to that protect the living against the dead, and also to make offer sacrifices to the dead for them to live or to depart in peace. That's what we said, Kate.
Thank you so much, Prof. I'm
So
grateful.
we go to Isaro, who has lost the husband, whose name is Romain. After a genocide, she gets separated from her husband during the genocide, and they are reunited. However, her husband, look at this one again. The husband is being accused of killing another man's entire family. Accusation. This is also an issue there. So those who killed, those who didn't kill but have been accused of having killed, and so on. Now listen to this one. Now, before Israel could gather the courage to ask for the truth, her husband committed suicide. Unless you are saying. So she meets this man. She meets this man whose entire family Romain had allegedly wiped off. Their meeting speaks volumes about their reconciliation. What is reconciliation? They later find out that it was not Romain who killed them. So how can you bring back the life of Romain? That's what war unleashes on people. Those of you, do I have anyone from the northern part of Ghana where the war has been on and on and on? I'm not talking about Boko. Fine, Boko can be there, but we're talking of the Bimbila, Gojaland kind of wars. Do you have any there? Apanda? Apanda, yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Prof, for the opportunity. I am from the surrounding community.
Mm-hmm. So, can you share with us the effect of war there?
The war, the conflict so far has affected almost everything. ranging from business, education, and the whole of life. Out of the war, many teachers flew out of the place, then leaving the classrooms empty. You can go to a basic school ranging from KG to JSS with only 2 or 3 teachers managing the whole school, which is very burdensome for them. Business-wise, a lot of people cannot go and transact their business. You see a town that was booming. It's not like a ghost town. You go there, you see 1 or 2 people, unlike it used to be that you can go there, enjoy yourself, do a lot of business. In fact, Boku was a business town that every businessman can dream of going. Because you can see that transacting business in Boku was a very good thing because it borders Burkina and Togo. So business was moving well. But from the outset of the conflict, everything is get down. Everything is down as compared. And even they are given bad names. When you say you are from Boku, yeah, down south, and you mention that you are around Boku, people feel like you are one of the warriors. Meanwhile, it's not the case. It's given that bad name.
All right. So obviously, what we are reading, we can relate it to what's happening in the northern part of Ghana. I know not long ago, Nkonya and Alvanyo was also in that state, right? So we can relate this, that the person, someone has not committed a crime, but because there's a crime there, he's accused of, and not that the system will even get rid of him, but the person gets rid of himself. And the most terrible thing to happen to a human being is to commit suicide. That's the most terrible thing, for one to commit suicide. Most terrible thing. If somebody kills you, fine. If not, fine. Whatever, fine. Put in a state that you cannot bear, and I commit suicide. That's the most terrible thing. And I believe both Islam and Christianity do not support this. They are punishment for those who commit suicide. Right. So she does it. And the worst of it is that after meeting the family, it comes out clearly that Romain was not the one who committed the crime. The point is, how can his life be restored? How can a life be restored? That is also a serious thing. So reconciliation may not, in fact, if we are not careful and these things happen, we may talk of reconciliation, but reconciliation will never come. It will never come. Because if you accuse my father of something, the accuse of my father of something, and my father out of sorrow commits suicide, and you come back and tell me that, oh, you found the one who committed it, so you are sorry. Sorry will not bring back life. And trust you, I will never forgive you. My children will be told of this and they will never forgive you. My grandchildren will be told of this and they will never forgive you. And realize that it will continue and continue and continue till the kingdom comes. That is the effect of Israel. So I want you to know that those that we selected to talk about are those that have that symbolic relevance and those that give us the deeper core of the trauma that happened in Rwanda. The next person is Carl. And Carl is part of those who were not in the country when the war broke out. He had gone for holidays in his home country, leaving behind his children. Take note of those. Leaving behind his children and his partner. He only learned about the war on radio, and all attempt to get his partner and children to join him proved futile. He is reunited with them after the war. However, his wife has contracted what? HIV/AIDS through consistent rape. Wow. Which was a hard bargain for the lives of the children. She finally dies, and Carl holds himself responsible for this loss. I'm going for holidays. I'll be back, only to come back and us, and a crime that he has no knowledge of becomes his burden. Right. Yeah. Hetty, can we hear you?
Sir, please, thank you. Please, I wanted to know whether if he was, Carl is also a foreigner.
Carl is a foreigner, but then he's different from others because his wife, he calls partner because they are not married formally. So his partner and his children were in Rwanda. Then this rate consistently, and then giving HIV/AIDS. So once again, Carl comes back to inherit a crime he has not committed. But then his guilt is that he could have gone with their wife and the children. But the point is, every holiday be with the wife and children. For example, in my case, for me, for instance, every year I travel outside for a holiday, right? So when I go for the holidays, a month or two, a month or some weeks, whatever, I leave my family here. That's not a crime that I travel to US and I leave my family. That's not a crime. But if I come back and something has happened to them, then I ask myself, why didn't I go with them? But can I go with them all the time, the Spencers? So a system that creates this kind of psychological trauma, emotional trauma, physical trauma, it's not a system that we should applaud and hold in place. No. Are you okay, Hetty?
Yes, sir.
Right. Could you let's hear
Thank
you?
you.
You are welcome.
Thank you so much. Please, I want your guidance on this. Isaru commits suicide because he was blamed or he was accused falsely, or Romain accused him falsely for killing his children. Am I right? Was Romain the only person who accused him falsely for killing his children?
You are missing up things. You are missing up things.
Please,
the
I want your guidance.
Said is that it's not. So you're not listening. You have not read the book. Isaru is a woman, right?
Okay.
And her husband is. So it is Romain. It is Romain who is accused of having killed a family, an entire family. So Romain commits suicide. Then later, the surviving wife, who is Isaru, meets the family of those who accuse Romain of killing their family. And it comes out that Romain was not the one who killed them. But Romain is dead, then gone. Are you okay now?
Okay. Thank you so much, Prof.
Listen well. So ask questions that will take us back. Right. So the next person or the next guys we are talking about are Seth and Valentine. Seth and Valentine. Please don't use my platform to do your personal chatting. Right. Now, Seth is a handsome Rwandan man. His paternal uncle took him to Burundi after his parents were assassinated at home during the 1963 massacre. Don't forget, I mentioned it to you that this war did not start in 1994. We had about 3 or 4 of them in 63. So in 63 too, there was this war in Rwanda, massacre. He lives a very fulfilling life in Burundi. Don't forget that Burundi is a close place nearby. I mean, very close to Rwanda. Then he moves to the US to study, and he has his girlfriend, Valentine, join him. Right. Now, later, the two get married and start a family. Seth hopes to relocate the family to Rwanda very soon. But how does he do it? How does he do it? Now, if you read the book, you go deeper into this. And then you realize that Seth belongs to one tribe. Valentine belongs to another tribe. They want to come back to Rwanda. How do they come? And how people look at them? Don't forget the 10 commandments. Right. The young Zairian woman who looked like a Tutsi, her name is not mentioned, but then she's identified by the country she comes from. She is Zairian. Yeah, she's a Zairian. I think Zairian is Congo, right? DR Congo.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I've mentioned Uganda, but I think it's Congo, DR Congo. Yeah. Now, her husband is a Rwandan. During the war, she remains bold and unafraid, but the trauma of losing her husband and seeing her baby butchered right in front of her still lingers in her mind. I told you of a woman whose child was taken from her and then sliced, butchered, like something, like a farmer weeding and cutting a tree and then trying to prune the branches so that it can go on. So this person, how will she ever forget and forgive Rwanda? How will she? The most paradoxical situation of all of them is what you call the 7 wonders. These are 7 friends on campus who were always seen together and as such nicknamed the 7 wonders. Listen carefully. They went for lectures together, played sports together, as well as almost everything, every other thing together. One of these 7 wonders was the son of a Tutsi woman and a Hutu man. So he does not fully belong to any of the tribes. The students on the campus lived a free life, choosing their friends without considering the ethnic affiliations. The onset of the genocide saw his friendship broken. Why? Their lives have been badly influenced by the war. The students of Hutu Tutsi descent no longer want to continue his education in the country. He would rather go to Canada or to Britain. Through this group of students, we get to know how the genocide has affected even Rwandan students and their lecturers. You can imagine if we were to bring this to Ghana, how things would be in Ghana. The appearances of these characters are mainly brief, that's minor characters, and most often they appear in the subplots of other character stories, as I mentioned earlier. However, these characters also shine in the spotlight they are given because their stories are equally significant to the main plot. And the first one I want to look at is what Anastasia and the brother Anastas. Anastasia is a victim of rape and genocide. Her own brother capitalizes on the evils taking place around them and rapes her. Her own brother think that, yeah, people are doing this here and there. So he brings the atrocities to their home. She joins a resistance group that holds a barrier against the militia. Anastasia tries to ask for forgiveness and restore their relationship. However, her sister dies toward the end of April 1994. The exact date of her death is unknown, as only few people in her neighborhood lived to tell her story. This one, she did not even tell her own story. But some people lived to tell her story. A system that can get a brother to rape his own sister. What kind of system is this? Right. They'll get to know about the prisoners when the writer pays a visit to the prison. So when she gets there, the prisoners comprise all those who took part one or the other in the killings. They set up a police system to check themselves in the prison. There's a section for the men and a separate section for the women. There are also those who have been condemned to death or life in prison. There are little children who followed their mothers because they were still too young to be separated. These children will leave when they turn 3. Look at this. Innocent children, because of war, because of crime, have to grow in prison. What's it like in prison? I don't know if anyone has ever been to prison as a prisoner. To share with us. All right. The next person we are looking at is Fraudout. He's a young farmer who ends up as a murderer during the genocide. He's thought to kill or be killed. Right? Yeah. This is the gentleman who was recruited and taught to kill. Either he kills or he will be killed. Having in mind that the enemy had to disappear from the country, it becomes easy to choose. He's also part of a gang that kills those who were RPF lovers. So he ends up in prison after the war. So he's a perpetrator. Tonya is an Italian nurse. She was working in Rwanda at the time the war broke out. But we know that during war, the Red Cross nurses are not touched. Right. But then she was protesting the genocide in aid of saving the entire nation. If you're a nurse, you don't do that. You just do your job. You don't protest. However, luck was not on her side, and she gets murdered 2 days after her protest. We hear about her from the trip to one of the sites of genocide. Meaning that most of the stories are not even complete themselves. We get just a bit of the story, and the person moves on. Right. So these are a few characters we have looked, and we believe that these characters we have selected are symbolic in themselves, just like all other characters in the book, and that we'll be able to make up. The complete sense of the story through these few characters. Now let's go to setting. I will say that setting is in Rwanda. The narration takes us through towns and villages to show a picture of what happened in Rwanda. And then it sings very well. This traveling through Rwanda, villages and towns here and there, it's in line with the second part of the title that travels in the heart of Rwanda. Right. So the writer begins the story from Johannesburg, South Africa, where she boards the plane through Paris. Look at this one. She's coming to Rwanda, right? Rwanda is very close to South Africa. But before she can get to she can get to Rwanda, she has to go to Johannesburg and be flown back to Europe, Paris, before she's flown to Kigali. Those of you who know it very well, South Africa is down here, Johannesburg down here. Europe is up above us. So you fly from maybe Cote d'Ivoire, you go to Johannesburg, and you are flown from Johannesburg to Europe, Paris, and then you are flown back to Kigali. I mean, so travels in the heart of Rwanda. All these are parts. Then you come to Rwanda and you have to go to places. So the complex nature of even getting the information starts with how she traveled up and down. The main plot revolves around most parts of Rwanda, and the writer journeys with the reader to some important sites of Rwanda, which includes Nyamata Church, as I mentioned yesterday. Now we are told the church recorded, estimated, I said 45 because of what? Plus or minus. Plus or minus. Those who have watched Hotel Rwanda, you realize that the figure was more than this, but in the book records 35 dead people. The next main site is Ntarama Church, where an estimated plus or minus 5,000 persons were massacred there. Right. So the focus was on the churches. Then the reader is taken to the road that leads to Butari through Nyanza, Gatarama, Buyamba, and then strategically ends in the prisons. So traveling through the heart of Rwanda. The specific settings are, as mentioned above, have unique flavor that they attach to the sense of tragedy in the text, the narration. The killing that took place in the church along the road evoked of trauma. The encounter between the soothsayer and the death spirit has a setting that heightened the traditional belief in life after death. There's also a certain of time. I mean, we know specifically that the genocide was ignited by the assassination of the president who belonged to majority ethnic group, right? So when he was killed in the 1994, then the Karen becomes the recipe for avenge for the earlier ethnic massacre. So the period of the genocide is also shrouded in the international atmosphere of political upheavals. So in the 1994s, you realize that in the early 1990s, there were a number of wars around the world. Right. So we can look at the genocide in that context to bring out the trauma, the real trauma of the genocide. Right. But then we would also be able to say that the book gives us specific dates there, that it was, but even if the book doesn't give us specific dates, we know the genocide happened historically in the 1994s that way. Right. So if I ask you to discuss how the setting of the story brings out a trauma, I'll be looking out for the specific things that happened in specific places. For example, the church, Nyamata Church, the other church, along the road, right? Things that happen along the road. I think it's along these routes that woman, two women, one was raped and was given HIV/AIDS. Her husband comes back and then she has HIV/AIDS and then she dies in the process. The other one is just along the road, all right, where she was raped and then the head of axe put in her genitals and so on along the road. Along the road is also a Zairian woman who, not this one whose husband is a Rwandanese. No, there's another Zairian woman who was to be killed. She was nearly lynched, only to realize that she's not a native of Rwanda. So she was allowed to go and so on. So the setting is very important in this story. If I ask you to do it, please be direct and give me the exact information. Right. We are looking at the point of view, and I think we have mentioned it already, the mode of narration or the narrative perspective employed by the author in telling the story and so on. So here, the narrator employs several approaches to get us to know, to get us to hear, to get us to feel, and to get us to see what takes place in Rwanda during and after the genocide. So the narrator alternates between the third person point of view and the number of first person narrations. So she begins her account with a first person point of view, where she herself takes us through along with her on a flight from Cote d'Ivoire or wherever to Johannesburg, back to Paris, and then to Kigali. And we'll meet the passengers on board the plane and we share the author's feelings when she loses her luggage. Then we are introduced to the sense of loss right from the beginning of the text. Sense of loss right from the beginning of the text too, even before we hear the story of Rwanda. So the sense of loss starting with the narrator who loses her luggage in course of her travel, the sense of complications to understanding why people do the things they do, why the shadows of Imana would want to behave in a different way and so on, is seen in the paradox of traveling to Johannesburg, which is just a nearby country to Rwanda, but had to be flown from Johannesburg to Paris up here in Europe and then flown back into Rwanda. The complications are seen in the setting, the journey, and so on. Right. Now, through the opening account, the reader gets to know the complicated nature of the flight. And this can be attributed to the complicated nature of the genocide it is associated with. Right. So she used the purpose singular when she is conveying her thoughts and emotions. Her use of the first person plural at some point in time has a powerful grip on the reader. In fact, at the latter part of the story, she uses the first person plural, where she creates a reflection on what happened. She creates a reflection on what happened in the book, and she tells her point blank that this thing may come again. I should be careful. Right. She induces the sense of responsibility in her audience or her readers, for as she remarks, it is a reminder that humankind, the world over, is capable of genocide. So she put herself into it. So you have a first person, a third person, and other kinds of first persons in the way. This also syncs in well with the theme of communalism, that's with the segment of communalism that is highlighted throughout the text. And let's mention communalism, a communal spirit, in the sense that when the war broke out, the whole world was expected to step in and put things right. But many countries kept quiet because France is superpower, Belgium superpower. They are doing their own things. So let's look at them. In any case, no other country was also benefiting from Rwanda apart from these two countries. So they are fighting their fight, let them fight. Last Saturday, we heard of USA going to is it Vietnam? Which country is that? And then
Venezuela,
thank you. And getting hold of the president and the wife in Venezuela. All because Trump says that their oil thing there was developed by American companies. And so, and nobody's speaking except some powerless Africans who are making statements here and there. When I read the Kuja statement, I laughed. I said, what will this even get to? We're talking about Britain, France, and others to also come in then, because they are all interested in what America is doing, they've all kept quiet. That same time that America went to Venezuela to go and arrest the president and the wife and so on, France had come to Burkina Faso purposely to attempt a kind of arrest of the president there, because there's gold, there's mineral there, and then the president saying that we're not giving it to you anymore. So they are angry. That's the world we find ourselves in. So the Rwandan situation did not bother anyone. Let them kill themselves. When they are done, we'll go back for their gold and other things. So if the president of Rwanda today is a fierce president who does not give a damn to anyone, these are the reasons. Because these imperial powers will come only when they need it. If they don't need you, you can kill yourself and do anything. They don't care. Right. Hands up, can we listen to you?
Yes, Prof. Your explanation, you mentioned the point of view, the first point of view, and then the third point of view. I didn't hear of the second point of view of the narrator.
Can I go on, please? So the third person perspective limits the reader only to only the information from the narrator's account. The understanding to those parts of the text is entirely based on what we hear and see through the narrator's perception. However, the writer understands that we cannot solely depend on her account of an incident, so she never fully witnessed. So the writer knows that her main aim of circulating the truth of genocide lies in with survivors of this tragedy. So consequently, she switches to the third person point of view, where the readers get a better account of the incident. Additionally, she allows her interviewees to tell their own stories using the third person perspective. We then get to experience exactly what the various characters went through, and there is a sense of authenticity and objectivity in the narration as the narrators are varied but speak to the issue with different voices and perspectives. The perspective, yeah, good. So what we have said is that, Kofi, you don't try to impose your views on us. If you think there's a second person point of view, identify it, because I've not mentioned it anywhere. So don't impose your view that you didn't hear me talking about second person.
Prof, I was only finding out if there is.
Can I continue teaching? Right. So we are looking at the main narrator assuming 2 or 3 roles. The main narrator being an omniscient narrator at a point in time, being a first person narrator at a point in time, being a limited omniscient at a point in time, and then allowing the interviewees to come in with their first person narrations. So it's upon all these that I said that the narrator employs what you call multiple narrative approaches, or what I refer to as multi-perspectival narrative approach, multi-perspectival narrative approach. And we've said that this is relevant because it gives us a number of advantages. It gives us a number of advantages. Multi-perspectival narrative approach gives us a number of advantages. If the story is coming from diverse views, obviously we appreciate it because we are all saying the same thing from different angles, and that's a beautiful thing that we see in the work. We are looking at the themes and sub-themes of the story. Now, we would definitely say that there is a major theme. There is a major theme in the book, but then there are several sub-themes. There are several sub-themes that fit into the major theme. The subject matter of this book is life, death, and then survival. life, death, and survival. Don't forget that people want to live, so they kill others so that they can survive. And after killing and living, there's also the need for life to continue. So those who were affected one way or the other also come back to fight, and then they must also survive. So the entire text chronicles the importance and the understanding of life and death by the two tribes and each person's quest for survival. The everyday life suddenly gives way to chaos when the president is killed. Those of you reading drama with me, on Saturday we started talking about Dear Blood, and in the context of discussing tragedy, we said that a tragedy registers a deeper effect if the tragic character is a huge character. So, in this story, because the president is killed, the devastating effect or the rippling effect is too extensive that life after the genocide becomes complicated for some people, as you have mentioned up there already, especially those who are compelled by the militia to kill their own neighbors. In such moments of crisis, the average person would do anything for survival. Anything for survival. Mothers strike a hard bargain for the lives of their children. Some people also seek refuge with friends, neighbors, and in camps. When it becomes very necessary, they completely flee the country. The trauma associated with these experiences of the survivors compels some to contemplate suicide as the best solution. This text actually portrays a vivid imagery of the survivors' desire to work through genocide experienced in as they come to terms with the unfortunate past. So from foregoing, we can say that the major theme of the text is the quest for disoriented society, the quest for survival in a disoriented society. Right. Are we okay with this one? That the story is mainly around the strong desire to survive in a society that is disoriented, a society that is disintegrated, a society that has no focus. That's the main theme of the story. Moving around life, death, and survival. Right. Then we can have some sub-themes. And I said the sub-themes aggregate to give us the main theme. And the sub-issues may include separation in time of crisis. And I've seen a number of them. Forgiveness as an ultimate measure to reconciliation, right? And then the need for collective effort, to ensure peace, right? Now, separated identities in times of crisis as something where at the heart of genocide is the issue of separated identities. And we're going through a number of them. Now, this division is marked in the text as one of the main causes of genocide. The Hutus see the Tutsis as the other tribe who have invaded their territory and so must be eliminated. They also see the differences and therefore draw dividing lines that put all Hutus who think the Tutsis are the extreme corner, right? And therefore they come up with the Tutsi commandment. Consequently, such individuals were also assassinated alongside Tutsis, and identity becomes a crucial factor during and after the war. Tribal and social identities either saved or condemned individuals. Tribal or social identities saved or condemned individuals. Also, during the genocide, families were separated from each other. While some were able to reach the other members of their families, others now have to bear the psychological consequences of not knowing what has happened to their relations during and even after the war. Most of the characters in the text lost their relations to death, never to be reunited in the physical world again. Others also lost them not to death, but then to other forms of separation. The text makes us understand that forgiveness is one step towards reconciliation in a war-stricken environment. As we narrated, as we looked at from the characters, most of them were moving towards forgiveness in the process of reconciliation. And whether the forgiveness will come, the reconciliation will come, that's also something we have to grapple with. When we hear the stories of people who were once raped, whose bodies have been deformed, and who have lost their relations, all they emphasize is the quest for peace and unity in the country. None of them actually talked about retaliating because they have seen the West and it's so scary. The living need to reconcile with the dead as well as their fellow survivors. An example of a step towards reconciliation is cited in the chapter titled His Voice. Israel receives a call from the man whose family her husband allegedly had murdered. These two opposing forces, one from victims and the other from the accused family, yet they are able to arrange a cordial meeting that will put an end to a long vigil. They have a mutual grief, first from the trauma the war has left them, and also from the fact that both has lost relations. The meeting they hold symbolize the first step towards reconciliation. As is put out in the book, those who have gone have left at the earth in which their bones lie buried. It's up to us to rebuild life. The narrator for warns of a future recurrence if forgiveness is not genuine to anchor a deeper reconciliation. Rebuilding as a collective effort. Yeah, rebuilding as a collective effort. The text invokes the spirit of collectivism and thus remains a task that the survivors are called upon to perform. In all the varied accounts of the genocide, the call for a cohesive relationship among individuals and among members of the society and prioritizing the common good over the individual self. This contradicts the motive that generated the genocide, where the individual's tribe was prioritized over the nation as a whole. As it was realized, the Hutus fought the Tutsis because they had the power, and the Tutsis were afraid of the Tutsis because they had the power, and the Tutsis were afraid of the Hutus, what they could seize power. The Hutus were afraid of the Tutsis because they felt the Tutsis could seize power. Right. So consequently, each tribe was fighting for his people. It's only when they all realized that genocide is evil that the normalcy of life is attained. The writer further emphasizes his collective imagination with the varied accounts she gathers from the survivors and puts them together in a way that make them seem like one whole story. So rebuilding as a collective effort. Right. So we have looked at a few of the sub-themes in the book, and then we want to run quickly through diction, style, and then we may visit some crucial issues in the book, and then we'll be done. Right. Let me mention a few things and then we move on, right? A few things and move on. So we can talk of one, the role of the soothsayer. We have mentioned it already, but it's something that we have to bear in mind. The role of the soothsayer in the sense of appeasing the dead and reconciling the society, situated strongly in the African belief system, as I mentioned earlier, because these dead, if they are still screaming around, the chaos remains, and events are too recent to put memories back. So we need to pay attention to that. Again, we also want to mention that forgiveness is an ultimate measure to reconciliation. Forgiveness is an ultimate measure to reconciliation. That's also an issue we need to pay attention to from our discussions, right? Then we can talk of the justice systems. The justice systems in the book, we have mentioned the Gakaka court system. The Gakaka court system, where we are told that 100 days after the genocide, a seeming normalcy returned to Rwanda, and several people, though have been massacred and perpetrators were to face justice. The big question was which judicial system was to use, right? So it's a situation where a large number of people perpetrate crime in a small developed country, there's bound to be claims of justice denied and justice delayed and so on. So as in Ghana, we would quickly put in place what we call the tribunal system. They also quickly put in place the Gakaka system around 2005. And thus played its role in the quest for reconciliation. So reconciliation is also linked to the justice system. With this court system, the search for justice was brought to the community level. Our judges were selected from the community to hear cases of people accused of playing a part in the genocide, right? So such people received lower sentences and they asked for forgiveness, right? So the Gakaka system is echoed here. One crucial theory that comes to mind in the book is trauma. The genocide is undoubtedly traumatic, and it is not surprising that the survivors are traumatized by memory. So most of these survivors were maimed and the women were subjected to rape, etc. So one such character we know is Nelly, for example, who cannot stand the sight of her own child because of this trauma born out of rape. And then we also talk of places that we visited, and we are told those places evoked trauma in them. On page 12, we can read this, that the dead are still screaming. The chaos remains palpable. Events are too recent. And this is not memorial, but death laid bare, exposed in all its rawness. The horror of the silent earth and of time lying down layers of dust in its passage. The bones of the skeleton corpse are disintegrating before our very eyes. The stench infects our nostrils and settles inside our lungs, contaminates our flesh, lingers in our bodies and our mind. That's a trauma. That's a trauma. So in all these, we have been talking about trauma. There are those things you see in the book. You say that in everlasting memory of the anguish of our ancestors, may those who died rest in peace. May those who return find their roots. May humanity never again perpetrate such injustice against humanity. We, the living, now vow to uphold this. So just as the slave castles serve as monuments to remind Africans of the horrible past, in the shadow of man and the survivors, churches, and all the places of massacre served to remind posterity to respect humanity. Right. So we have all these. And therefore, from the sense of trauma, we can also talk of memories and scars of genocide. memories and scars of genocide. So there are things there in Rwanda that remind us of the genocide. We can talk of the Yamata Church. We're going to talk of the site of genocide. We're going to talk of the plus or minus 35,000 dead. We're going to talk of a woman bound, hand, foot, and pulled on the road. We can talk of the Mukandori. We can talk of H25. We can talk of the exhumed in the 1997. We can talk of the town of Yamata. A lot of things there. The memories of genocide. They evoke the memory of loss. They evoke the memory of pain, the trauma. All this is evoked in the book. We need to pay attention. Again, we are talking of Benedicta, please mute yourself. Benedicta, mute yourself. Right. We have mentioned the roles of France in events leading to the genocide. We can read around it and we'll get the information there. We have also talked about the media and the Rwandan genocide. Very important, very important. We have all heard that the pen is mightier than the sword. This is made very evident in the book, Pen, Mightier Than the Sword. Provoke people to pick their swords and the guns and start misbehaving. As mentioned in our earlier discussions, ethnic rivalries breed tribal slurs, which cause more friction. When the mass media allows such racial slurs and propaganda, there's bound to be chaos. So in the book, the journalist, one of the supporting characters, reports what happened in the country before the assassination of the president. Romeo Delary, who was commander of the United Nations Assistant Commission for Rwanda, highlight the role played by the local radio stations, notably Radio Television Liberté Mark Collins, that's RTLM, and the Radio Rwanda, that state-owned television stations, which created the genocide. The media is seen to be a tool of distraction, just as George Orwell presents in Animal Farm. Napoleon exploits Kula, who is a symbol of the media. His ability to turn white into black. As well as media in the Soviet Union, Kula resorts to propaganda and deceit as the big pigs seek their selfish interest. So in Rwanda, we come to a state-owned newspapers, a state-owned radio stations, etc., etc. And their utterances is that which fueled the war. So the media is a paradox, as is the tool for development, but could be put to destructive use by persons who handle hate. And the media, the fourth arm of government, right? They call the fourth realm of the state. So if you don't pay attention to the media and they do things well with it, we all stand destroyed. One other issue we have in the book is what you call dangers of ordering and tribalism in the shadow of manner. When we say this one does not belong to us, belong to the other group, then we are creating more problem for ourselves. And this idea of the ordering is the root of post-colonialism. And when the colonial elements saw us as the other, they started maltreating us. If you go to Rwanda, the moment the Hutus saw the Tutsis as the other minority group, they don't belong to us, then the whole problem started, right? And that's why in this country, when we hear some people talking rubbish, for example, Osla Owusu saying that Yaji Yamai, as if the Omanu belongs to them. And that's it for me. That was a terrible statement to make. Where Akufo-Addo can go to places and treat chiefs there in a way different from what he would do to his Achim chief. That's a very terrible thing. So they saw themselves as, yes, we, all others are the other. So no respect for them. And it's pathetic that the president will leave office and the chunk of the country does not even respect him anymore. That's very terrible. That's very terrible. And that is what builds the genocide and then the problem in Rwanda. The dangers of ordering and tribalism in shadows of Imana. The dangers of ordering and tribalism in Ghana during the MPP regime. And I think if you're an MPP man, tell your people to try as much as possible to put this one, if you will ever come to power again, let this thing be a thing of the past. Right. All right. So now we can talk of language and style in the book. We are talking about the fact that the story, without the light is not off, so we still can enjoy our discussions, but we'll be finishing soon. Language in the book is enough to comprehend the message. She used a lot of descriptive words because she needs to paint a clear picture of the genocide so that those who never saw it can know. So she creates a room for other speakers to relay their experiences and thoughts to the audience, allowing others to share their views on the genocide, introduces variety into the linguistic texture of the story, and so on. There's direct representation that reflects personal emotions. Consistently, the narratives have projected a sense of trauma, so much that the descriptive presentation gets readers to associate with pain. Thus, she makes language very objective and then realistic. Now, in the book written by Tajo is somebody who is very artistic and stylistic in her writings. Very. So in this, you realize that she employs a number of things. So she called this one travel diary, where she does a number of things. So to make the story very effective, she engages people that she interviews so that she can get their voices. She can get witnesses of the genocide. Now, her literary testimony puts together the various outlooks as one whole piece. So the story comes in fragmented form, but then she's able to put them together. So the text fictionalizes a very relevant historical happenings in Rwanda. The narrator reflects on events in the characters' lives that happened before, during, and after the genocide from different perspectives. If you don't get anything at all, the point of view that she employs is too much of a style that makes the work very beautiful. These include accounts of those who lived in the country before it started, so it ended. Those who sought refuge in other countries, those who sought refuge in camps within the countries, those who in other countries, those who sought refuge in camps within the country, those who witnessed people from being massacred, those who participated in the massacre, those who were imprisoned, those whose relations were assassinated, and a whole lot of people. So the text is partly investigative text because she seeks to uncover the truth surrounding the genocide. These are narrated on time continuum as she learns the past occurrences with the present and attempt to predict the future. Right. So Tajo Tajo chooses the characters to carefully present the story from their perspective. The text with multiple plots, because of multiple narrations, presented as a collection of stories. The writing alternates between plain language and literal language. Plain language because of the journalistic approach, literal language because of the artistry that gets into it. So the reader is made to follow the narrations. Tajo allows for witness accounts and personal evidence. She adopts different approaches to convey the message. An instance is the parallel structure of the 10 Commandments in carving the Tutsi commandments. The reader becomes familiar with the background, and that gets them to accept the story. Right. So the way she writes makes it easy to assemble the issues in the story, the issue of a genocide, and therefore challenges readers into thinking about the absolute evil of peace. There's a paper I have done on this book with a colleague. You can look for that paper and then read. It is something evil in Shadow of Humana, something. So as we did the other time, you can just Google in cancer and then all the titles will come and you pick that one to read. It throws more light on the story we have just discussed. Right. Any question up to this point, please? Any question up to this point? Right, Joseph, let's hear you.
My question is on the theme. Sorry, it's on the theme. A quest for survival in a disoriented society. Looking at the theme, it seems like it's not in a complete statement form.
Kofi?
Yes, Prof. I wanted to find out the killing of the Prime Minister. Was it done by the locals or the foreigners as claimed by the France and Belgium?
Who is the next person? Anita, let's listen to you.
Please, the issue of the communalism you talked about earlier, that like other countries didn't come in to support or to do, they cared less about what was happening in Rwanda. I also want to ask if we can add the issue of some neighbors going to take refuge from some, for instance, some Tutsis going to their neighboring Hutus for refuge. Can we also add that with the issue of communalism?
Sure. So the issue of communalism comes in two parts. One, if we want a perfect peace, if we want absolute reconciliation, then we must all come together. Both Hutus and Tutsis in Rwanda, those around the neighborhood, the whole world, we must all come together to ensure that there's absolute peace there. Is that right? So it's a crucial thing there. Right, thank you. So Diana.
Yes, sir. Sir, please, can wickedness be a sub-theme, since we see it all throughout the book as a contribution to the genocide?
We will not say just simply wickedness, because wickedness comes with some negative connotation. You see, let's understand that what happened there was not just a wickedness. What happened there was something that, for example, in the 1970s, 1963 war, Tutsis rose against the Tutsis. So Tutsis went to reorganize themselves in the neighboring countries, and they came back in the 1970s. right, to attack them. So it's a kind of vengeance. So they have reasons for doing what they will. But then the perpetration of the crime goes beyond the human standard into absolute callousness. But you and I know that if we are angry and we are doing something, we do it without our heads, right? So why it's come to a point that we say, can we all have cool heads and then try to do things right, so that we will not let the past always visit us, but we will let the past pass, and then the present will determine the future. So we can no really. So it is the underlying sense of all the actions in the book. Are you okay, Diana?
Yes, sir.
Right. In other sense. Any other? All right. So if there are no questions, then I think we've come to the end of Shadow of Humana. When we come back next week, when is school reopening?
Thursday.
So can we meet next week Monday morning, or we should push it today?
Come again.
I know from Monday next week you'll be going to school.
Yes.
I decided to engage you up to 8 o'clock. That would be unfair. And I don't also want to go to school and then listen whilst you leave the children unattended too. So I'm proposing, instead of doing it in the morning, we can do it in the evening. Would that be okay?
Yes,
Evening.
Yes, please.
So if
Sir. So what about Friday? Friday is holiday.
On Mondays, evenings, and Wednesdays as well.
Please, can we behave ourselves? If you want to talk, raise your hand. Let's for you. Right. So our second of evening. Right. Let's hear you, Mariam.
Yes, sir. Evening will be okay for us, but I wanted to prompt you that we also have some 3 lectures on Tuesdays and Thursdays evening from 6 to 8. So maybe we can fix your own at different days, maybe any other day apart from Tuesday and Thursday.
So do one.
Sir.
So can we do one on Monday evening and then Wednesday evening? Would that be fine?
Sir.
I said raise your hand.
Sir.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Please,
sir.
Monday we
Sir,
have
please. Morals. Monday and Wednesday.
Monday and Wednesday morality.
Sir, please, we can start around 4 and end at 6. The morality lesson begins at 6:30.
It's at 6:30. Yes.
So can start around 4 and then.
Yes, Prof.
4 to 6.
For some of us, is it in the evening? Because some of us, we close.
Yes.
No,
We close
4.
at 4. Yes.
4:10. For
4
us,
is okay. 4 is okay.
And then some of us will cook.
Please, what of Friday?
You cook. Hey.
Yes.
You all cook.
Friday,
You all cook.
We will all cook.
You all cook.
Sir, I think 4 is okay.
4 is okay.
Friday, please.
Friday evenings, I go to men's fellowship, so I don't teach. It's Monday 4. Monday 4 to 6.
We are pleading with you to meet us because coming Friday.
Yes, Prof.
Yes.
Okay.
Monday, I think it's Friday.
Monday 4
Morning. Friday we can meet at maybe from 7, like this one.
Na me so ntumi nko. Na ke kumpo watimi aba na ofe here kwa.
Friday is holiday.
Friday morning. We can peg one day.
Friday morning.
Will be okay.
Yes, Doc. Friday morning too. Prof, Friday morning too will be okay.
The Friday morning.
We can do one lesson on tomorrow. We don't have lesson on tomorrow morning, if possible.
Tomorrow, Wednesday.
Yes, Prof.
Wednesday.
We can do it 6 to 8 before we go to school.
Tomorrow we can do it on
Yes,
Friday
Friday too
morning.
is a holiday, so we can do it 6 to 8. Yes, Prof.
If
Sir, please, some of us we are in private schools and we have reopened school, please. So tomorrow morning will not help us.
It's only one day.
Yes. We are considering majority.
We are considering majority, so
Yes.
Thursday morning, Friday morning.
We are considering majority.
Yes.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow and Friday, not Thursday.
Friday morning, holiday.
Please.
Friday,
It will be recorded.
tomorrow
So
is
those who cannot join will
Tomorrow is Wednesday. So tomorrow morning we can do it.
We can do it tomorrow and then Friday.
Yes.
We will be going to school on Thursday.
That one is good.
Yes.
Tomorrow morning, holiday. Since we are in the house, Friday is still holiday. Friday is not holiday.
Meet tomorrow morning.
Please, sir, conclude for us.
Tomorrow morning
Friday is holiday.
Yes, Doc. Yes, Doc. Yes, Prof. Thank you. So Wednesday, Friday morning, 6 a.m. Concluded. He has left.
So tomorrow morning 6 to 8 and then Friday morning. That's it.
Following lectures.
Hello.
Yes,
Please,
sir.
is
Yes.
it tomorrow morning
Yes,
and
madam.
Friday morning?
Yes. Tomorrow morning, Friday morning.
Okay, thank you. All right.
6 a.m. Let's join early.
We are all mothers, and at times, by the time you will reach home around 2 o'clock. So if you are telling us to start lectures at 4 o'clock,
yeah, for that
we
one,
didn't
maybe
start
it's won't help.
So the engineer, my sister.
We are done with that. We said
It's
tomorrow
okay for tomorrow and Friday.
and Friday morning only.
I think those who are worried that missing out can also download the YouTube videos.
Madam, tomorrow morning, 6 a.m.
Tomorrow morning,
Friday,
6 a.m.
Friday, 6 a.m. Bear in mind.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
Please, the recorded tapes, no. Please,
Which one?
All the recorded ones are so far.
They will post it. They will post it.
Prose fiction. A platform now join you. And I'm the bed to my meaning some of the atumu there because I'm a pair and met my chair. I'm joining.
I will send it again.
All the books from the reading ones, that the literary ones, and we nankasano, close fiction, book nankasano. Because I'm a pair and meeting my joining, Minishe, I make kind.
I will resend.
Okay, thank you.
I was asking
about the family on what books here or yes, one madam.
It's like a commentary. You can
the shadows of a man. No. Mediana made Modeva cook maybe I mean Shana who saw the more kind of baby na median me who know more.
Any media. Any media.
I mean who know the hey.
Rescinded the right now. Am I?
You'll be missing
Why
some
was
things.
starting now more
Yes, I'm
Yes, I
married.
do.
Why?
Nice, yeah, why?
Why not, Jack? Because the true baby or carry the grass, a minty that.
What new maybe go up and see a big up and you.
Mommy and kind, why? Yes, I'm a month Sunday, my and kind. Okay.
Every kind, I won't pay by your banner and share the trays on the giant tiny. Because you fly off, who happy to fly with me.
Do you have another lesson?